This morning, I'm pleased to introduce to you our guest speaker, Andre Cohen. Andre currently serves as the EEO Affirmative Action Diversity Coordinator for Anoka County and as president and owner of AM Horizons Training Group. Prior to his work at Anoka County, Andre was the academic dean at National American University. The National Association of Human Rights Workers awarded Andre with the Human Rights Worker of the Year Award for Andre's continued dedication to human and civil rights. We're excited to have Andre present The Cave, Why Is Change So Difficult? Please join me in welcoming Mr. Andre Cohen.
It's really exciting to hear those great things about yourself that you've written, read back to you. So many of your faces are very familiar to me from our previous sessions, and there seem to be some new faces as well. If you've not been in one of these presentations, if you could raise your hand, that'd be great. Okay, cool, I was right. All right, good. So just so you know, I want to be upfront and honest for those folks who've not been in my presentation and just let you know that I don't have all the answers. I am just a guy who has figured some things out by asking important questions. And so it is my hope that you feel that our interaction today was worth your while. And I will know that I've been successful if one thing occurs. If I've been able to give you one thing to think about. If I've encouraged you to think in different ways, in at least one way, then I know that I've been successful. And so I want to talk a little bit about kind of how we came to this point, and then move as that, use that as our launching point. All right. So I have quizzes for those people who've been in my sessions before. So I have a pop quiz. So what is it that human beings want? What are the three things that they want? Do you guys remember? Anyone remember? What's the three things that people want? Dignity, okay. Someone said happiness. I heard happiness. Respect. All right. So let me give you a cheat sheet. What are those three things that all humans work or strive towards? Significance, belonging, and safety. All right? So significance, belonging, and safety. And people typically go after those things in ways that don't necessarily make sense to who? To us or to others, right? They do it in ways that make sense to them. People can learn, change, and grow, and that all of that is a part of their process. Even if their behavior seems somewhat obtuse to us, as long as they think it makes sense to them, then it works, all right? What is an attitude? How have we defined an attitude in the sessions that we've been in? Attitude. What have you been told about what an attitude is as a teenager? What did folks tell you about an attitude? That you had one, right? That you had an attitude. What else? How did they describe? They would say, change your attitude or adjust your attitude. What were they talking about? That you had a bad attitude, right? Typically, they're talking about some kind of emotional response to external stimuli, right? And so one of the things that we've talked about together is a new way of thinking about an attitude. And that an attitude is a response to a what? Starts with a G and ends in O. A goal, right? So when you achieve your goal, you have a what kind of attitude? A positive or good attitude. When you are denied your goal, you are said to have a bad or negative attitude, all right? So when you encounter an employee or you encounter someone in the community and they have a bad attitude, what do you know about them for sure? That they have not achieved their goal. At that point, you have a twofold responsibility. One is to what? What's your first responsibility to them? As a helper.
Make them feel like they belong.
Make them feel like they belong. Remember, what's driving their attitude? The lack of goal, right? So the first responsibility that we have is to help them achieve their goal. All right. Now, we all know that we have budget confined. We're confined by our budgets, by our resources. And so there may be some things that we can't help them achieve. So then what becomes our responsibility? So our first responsibility is to help them reach their goal. If that can't happen, or if their goal isn't aligned with the law, or if their goal isn't aligned with what we can do, then our next job is to do what? If we want them to have a good attitude, help them find a new goal. And the key is not to give them a new goal, but to help them find a new goal, right? And why do we need to help them find a new goal?
Because they're going to have a good attitude and things are going to go
Oh, all right. They're going to have a good attitude. Things are going to go on nicely. They'll be able to accomplish their goal. But if I give someone a goal, what is their response to that, to me giving them a goal?
rejection.
Rejection. I'll do an experiment. All right. Sir, can you help me? Come on up. Come on up. I won't embarrass you, and hopefully you won't embarrass me. But what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to put one hand up just like this. All right. Now, I'm going to come back to you in just a second. I've been working out. All right. Under these clothes is a hulking body. All right. So I'm going to push his hand, and I want you to observe what happens because I'm, all right. I've been working out. So here we go. All right. On the count of 3, I'm going to push your hand. All right. Are you ready? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Stop. Give him a hand. Have a seat, please. Thank you. What did you notice? What happened? He pushed back, right? And oftentimes what happens, particularly as supervisors, is that we have things that we need for our employees to do. However, when we try to push those agendas on them, their natural reaction is to do what? To push back, all right? And it's really interesting because we do that same thing to ourselves. Right? We say, I have to do this, or I'm going to make myself do it, or, I've got this deadline, so I have to push myself. Has anyone ever heard someone say that they have to push themselves? What typically happens when people get in that mind frame that they have to do things, that they're being forced into doing things? Do they give their 100% best? No, they typically don't. As a matter of fact, some people may do this thing called procrastination. Has anyone ever heard of that concept? Right? Right? When people are forced into doing something, they start to procrastinate. Now, I want to tell you something that a lot of other people won't tell you, but there is no such thing as procrastination. Although people say that they do it, there is no such thing. As a matter of fact, procrastination is a lie. What procrastination says is, there are things that I should be doing, but I'm choosing not to do because this is easier or more fun. That's the truth, right? And so people put off what they should be doing for something that is easier or more fun to do. And then they get wrapped up and say, oh, I procrastinated. Like that's a real excuse for making choices not to do what you're supposed to do. All right. So I don't want to go too far down that road. I want to kick into this conversation about the cave. I have some video clips. I want to have some conversations, and I have some activities that I'd like for us to engage in. And so we'll go ahead and get started. In front of you are some blocks. You obviously know what to do with those blocks. So go ahead and do it. All right. So those blocks in front of you, you know what to do with those blocks. So just go ahead and do it. And I'll give you about 4 minutes to go ahead and use those blocks. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And all right. What I'd like for you to do is just kind of peek over at other games. And all right.
Not only that, but we had ours going the other way.
So what I'd like to ask is and I'd like to ask each table, what was your game, and then what were some of the basic rules of your game? All right? And so we'll start here, and then we'll kind of go around. So what was your game, and what were some of the basic rules of your game?
We just did a basic game of Jenga. The rules, we created our tower, and we took turns taking a block out, waiting to see who would be the one because the tower falls.
Okay, so you made a basic Jenga game. You built a tower. How was that tower built? Was it 3 by 3? Okay, so it's 3 by 3, and you took blocks out, and you waited to see who would be the one to tumble the tower. What was left of the tower? All right, cool. All right, thank you, thank you. What was your game, and what were some of the basic rules?
Ironically, it was the exact same as theirs.
Okay, so your game was exactly like theirs. Okay, and so 3 by 3 tower, took blocks out. Okay, all right, cool, cool. How about you? What was your game, and how did you play it?
We started out by playing blocks, and
Okay.
then we ended up playing the same game as they did.
So you started out playing blocks, and then you ended up playing the same game as
Yeah,
they
we
played.
started out building Stonehenge with a couple pathways and a sculpture.
Okay, so you started out with Stonehenge and built some sculptures. Okay, and then you moved to building a tower.
Yep,
Eh.
3x3, removing one piece and continuing to build it high, trying not to knock it over.
Oh, so these guys took the blocks out, but you took the blocks out and put them on top. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they were taking them out to see how they would fall. And so your objective of the game was what?
To keep building it higher and not knock it over.
Okay, so to keep building it higher and not knock it over. All right.
Only using one hand.
And using one hand only.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Tons of rules. All right, we'll take this back table and then we'll come sweep this way.
So we all had different goals. As you can see, Dave here, his objective was to go as high as he could, and Don was just trying to be as simplistic as he could, and of course I was trying to be as creative as I could. So being we all had different goals, we just kind of worked on our own project.
Okay, so you worked on your own projects, you had different goals, all right? And how were you able to determine who the winner was?
We decided afterwards that Dave won because his was the highest, I guess.
Okay, all right. So you just, oh, okay. All right, cool. Let's talk about your game. What was your game and what were some of the rules?
Just the basic Jenga game, took turns and put the pieces up, tried to get higher each time.
Okay, so you took the pieces out, tried to get higher each time. Basic kind of game, sounds like these games over here, is that correct?
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's talk about your game.
We had no desire to take it apart. We kind of worked as a team, just assembling the blocks and putting them together. And talked about cairns and inukshuk as we did it.
Oh, okay, cool. So you talked about architecture and that kind of stuff as you built them.
Piling up rocks.
Yeah. Cool. Let's come back here and then we'll finish.
I did the solid 3x3 construction and
Okay.
chose not to take it down because I didn't want it to fall.
Okay, so the two of you decided not to, because you didn't want it to fall or you didn't want to break the construct. Okay, cool. Yes, sir. How about you folks?
We built ours 5 by 5 with the basic rules of Jenga
Okay,
by restacking them on top.
okay, so 5 by 5. Now, it looks a little bit different than some of these other games that started out pretty similar. What do you think are some of the differences in terms of how you stack them? Are there differences?
We're from Parks and we're more creative.
You're from Parks, so you're more creative. All right. Cool. Well, I actually didn't bring you here to play Jenga, but you did help bring some points out that I think are worth talking about. So first of all, my directions were what? I said you know what to do with the blocks, so do it, right? And so why did you choose to do what you did? Because it's written on the blocks. What's written on the blocks? Jenga, all right? So with that word Jenga, are there any directions associated with that is also written on the block? No.
Two of us didn't know how to play, so we rely on the person who knew.
Okay, so two of you didn't know how to play, so you relied on the person who knew. Who was that person? All right, cool.
That happened at our table too.
That happened at your table as well, that there were people who didn't know how to play? Okay. Cool, you're shaking your head, you didn't know how to play it. Okay,
Have you played it?
cool. So there is Jenga. Now, did I What were my words exactly? Well, no, let's paraphrase my words as closely as you recall me delivering them.
You just
You
said,
know what to do
we
with
know
the
what to do with them,
I said, you know what to do with them.
but you really left it up
You know-
to us to do whatever we felt like.
Did you say it twice? Because I swear I heard the word game in there the second time around, because the first time was you know what to do with them, which is when we started building Stonehenge. And then there, I swear you said it again.
And then later I said, who will be the winner of your game?
That's what it was. That's why we started playing it the other way.
I asked who will be the winner of your game. So why did you switch from Stonehenge to building the tower?
Because we were playing and just to mess around, and then game, so we had to turn something into a game and find a winner.
Anyone have nieces or nephews or small children or been around small children? They play the oddest games, right? I mean, you buy a kid one of these fancy toys and they play with the box, They create these games. And they also sometimes determine who the winners are based on what kind of rules. Their own made up rules. And they can change at any point in time. Why? Yeah, because they made it up. Like the game I win. No matter what it is, I win, right? Kind of like life, but that's a whole nother thing. So why do you think a lot of times, because it's really interesting, because I will have a standout group like you guys who just do something totally creative. But why do you think most people end up creating the Jenga game in its kind of traditional way that it's presented? Because that's what you know. Because it's printed on the block. All right? And so if you've So the fact that it's printed on the block is important if what? If you know what it means. If you know what it means, right? So if you know what Jenga means, then that becomes important. And so do you believe that you have followed by, does Milton Bradley, the producer of this, have specific definitive rules about how to play Jenga? Yes. Right? So you can probably read those directions on the box and understand exactly what's supposed to happen. Did any of you follow those rules to the letter? She said we did. Are you sure?
No, I guess I can't say that I've read the rules that I recall.
Okay. All right. Did anyone hear sirens as you were playing? Did the Jenga police SWAT team come in and bust you and give you tickets because you were not following the rules? Yeah. Have you ever played Monopoly at somebody else's house? Isn't it very interesting how we can all play the same game and have all these different rules, right? So a lot of times what typically happens is that we end up conforming to what we think we should be doing as opposed to actually doing what we feel is right or feeling what is within our power to do. And so what I want to encourage you today is that sometimes the caves that we're talking about is this sense of conformity. And I want to talk about some strategic ways that we can get out of that conformity to actually start to produce effective work, as well as being able to question, are we doing the right thing and are we doing it for the right reason? All right? So how do we get that change in our employees, and more importantly, how do we change ourselves? All right. So I'm going to show a video, and we'll go on from there. So this is a video from a show. It's like who's the illusionist, the street illusionist dude around here? The TV show. Angel or something, or what's that? Chris Angel. So he's a British version of Chris Angel, and in this video he reenacts an experiment, and I don't want to talk too much about it. We'll see it and then we'll talk about it. So, yes, Chris Angel. So here we go. Let me make sure I turn up the volume.